In the Federalist, which is a great website, Sean Davis, one of the founders of it, he says the collective obsession with Florida is understandable. It's a purple state with a lot of votes and a lot of influence. Florida was responsible for all the craziness in 2000. We know that. Florida is important, he says. But it's not that important, he says. Especially not in 2016 in the Republican primary. Yes, it's a winner-take-all. Yes, it controls 99 delegates. But it's not that important. Here's what he's saying. To understand why, we just need to look at the current delegate picture in the primary. Here we go. There are a total of 2,472 delegates at stake. The winner must win 1,237 of them. As of today, Donald Trump is not even close. He's not even close to half that amount. Trump has won 44% of delegates pledged so far, while Cruz has won 34%, Rubio 15%, and Kasich 5%. It's 44, 34, 15, 5. He says, Donald Trump must win 54% of all outstanding delegates to clinch the nomination. If he wins Florida, even if he wins it by just one vote, he'll win each of the state's 99 delegates to the Republican convention. And if that happens, what percentage of delegates will he need still to win the nomination? 51%. Even if he wins Florida going away, he still has to win a majority of outstanding delegates. A feat he's yet to accomplish over any sustained period of time. He says, since Super Tuesday, for example, he's won only 40% to Cruz's 39%. So if Trump wins Ohio and Florida, 165 delegates, he'll need to win 48% of the remaining delegates, and to date he's only won 44% of them. Winning Florida helps Trump, yes, but not all that much, he writes, and not nearly as much as winning 4 of the other March 15 states would help him. So this fact is why the Florida focus, he says, is so short-sighted. You need to look at the other states. The 4 non-Florida states that will vote on March 15 award 259 delegates compared to Florida's 99. Of those 4, 3 are not winner-take-all. 3 are proportional. Illinois, 69 delegates allocated by congressional district and statewide. Missouri, 52 delegates allocated by congressional district and statewide. North Carolina, 72 delegates, proportional statewide vote. Preventing Trump from racking up delegate margins in those states is far more important, he writes, than making a futile last stand against him in Florida, a state where he's currently leading the home state senator an average of 16 points. I think it's narrowed somewhat, but you get his point. Interesting, isn't it, Mr. Producer? Have you heard this before? I haven't. He goes on. This is important because Florida's conventional wisdom status as the most important primary state is leading many people to make strategic decisions that make no rational long-term sense. The main rationale offered for why Rubio should not drop out before Florida, for example, is that if he drops out, then Trump will win Florida, since so many votes have already been cast via earlier absentee voting. But if Rubio stays in, the logic goes, then Rubio can win Florida and knock Trump out. You just heard the caller say that. This might make a small amount of sense if there were any real signs that the race is currently competitive, he writes, like the Trump versus Kasich race in Ohio. But Rubio, he says, not me, he says, Rubio's not going to win Florida. And in the process of not winning Florida, this is the key. Rubio will make it that much more difficult for Ted Cruz and Kasich to deny Trump wins in Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, and North Carolina. Let me put it in plain English. In other words, Rubio still sitting in may cost Cruz in Missouri and North Carolina and Illinois, is his point. It may cost Kasich in Ohio, although I doubt it, but you never know. The potential spoiler effects of Rubio staying in and nonetheless losing Florida are significant, especially at this stage of the race. Take Texas, Maine, and Idaho, for example. Rubio and his super PACs played in those states, spending millions, and walked away with virtually nothing to show for it because he failed to meet the thresholds. The only consequence of Rubio's presence in those races was to deny Ted Cruz a majority of the votes, a majority that would have given him 100% of the delegates in Texas, in Maine, and in Idaho. How many delegates? According to my math, he says, in those 3 states alone, Rubio cost Cruz 76 delegates. Those delegates are the difference between Trump being ahead of everyone by roughly 100 delegates and Cruz being in the lead right now. Rubio is costing Cruz the Republican nomination, which is why Cruz, everywhere, every stop, every debate is saying, rally around me, because he sees that 80%, that prior poll from the other day I mentioned you, 80% of the people, if Rubio wasn't in, his people who would vote for Cruz. 80%. So the writer here is saying, Rubio is already costing Cruz. And whether or not he wins Florida, look at the other states. If they're relatively close, Rubio will cost Cruz in those states too. See, this is not the thinking that's being pushed out through the phony media. This guy's much more sensible. He's much more thoughtful. He's looking at all the numbers. He's saying, wait a minute. As important as Florida is, it's not as important as all these other states where Rubio is costing Cruz. He goes on. What did Rubio get in return for denying Cruz delegates in these other states by staying in the race? 5 delegates. 5 delegates on Super Tuesday. Rubio's spoiler roll gave Donald Trump 71 delegates in those 3 states, just so Rubio could win 5 delegates. We're talking about Texas, Maine, and Idaho. Rubio's campaign is aware of how painful the spoiler dynamic can be, because it's exactly what so many Rubio supporters attack Kasich for doing in Virginia. See, we have out-of-control egomaniacs now in Kasich and Rubio. Well, what about Trump and Cruz? Trump and Cruz have a shot at the nomination. These other 2 men simply do not. And I'm tired of hearing, oh, poor Marco, poor Marco. The fact of the matter is, Marco is costing Cruz. And he knows it. And hence my theory that Marco and the establishment are dragging this thing, if they can, into the Republican convention. Unless Marco reverses course before or after Florida and changes his decisions here. Which he might do, by the way. I'm not ruling that out. But this is a brilliant piece, and it goes on. If Rubio stays in the race through Florida, the exact same thing will happen again to Cruz. He will walk away nearly empty-handed, but in the process, he will siphon enough votes away from the viable anti-Trump alternative to give Trump a huge delegate victory in 4 states that offer nearly 3 times as many delegates as Florida on Tuesday. Trump can win Florida and be beaten. Trump can win Florida and Ohio and be beaten. But Trump cannot be beaten if he sweeps the March 15 races due to a candidate, Rubio or Kasich, with no chance of winning the nomination, sucking up votes and delegates. Yes, Florida's important, but it makes no sense to sacrifice 259 delegates to Trump for the remote possibility that Rubio might win 99 delegates in Florida. We will post this article. Think about it.